Here's a continuation of the July 27th salmon survey coming into Admiralty Island between False Point Pybus and Pybus Bay right now. I'm getting ready to do a stream survey on False Point Pybus Creek. I'm going to speed this video up between sections to 8 times the normal speed to get the recording down to a reasonable length. And when we get over the salmon streams doing a salmon survey, I'm going to go ahead and slow it back down to the recorded speed. I'm trying out a new video recording program to try to get the quality of the videos up on the YouTube transfer, and I've been having a heck of a time with it. I really don't like that program very well. It doesn't do everything I would like it to. I do like the picture in a picture, but it took me a while to get it. It kept freezing up on me just about the time I'd get a video set up the way I wanted it. I'd have to start over again. I'm starting the survey over False Point Pybus Creek, and we're looking out at Brothers Island, Five Finger Light, and in the far distance Cape Fanshawe. That's where we just came across. And I'm turning up, flying along the shoreline here now in the salt water, looking for fish coming up the beach and coming towards the stream. Then we'll turn and fly up the stream a little ways and look for fish going up the creek. The salmon spawning portion of this stream goes way back up in here. You can see the stream going up that valley there, and fish go a long ways back up in there. We're not going to go up very far at all here. This is the early portion of the season, and the fish don't go up there very far yet. But we'll just make a turn here, kind of look a little bit and see how far they have gone up, and then head back out to the salt water and start checking along the beach out there. That system had a few fish in it, so we're going to go ahead along the shoreline here looking for fish traveling along here and head up into Gambier Bay. You see Gambier Island there just off on the right, and the far distance up there is Point Hugh. Stevens Passage is on the right, and that's Seymour Canal going up in there between Gambier Island and Point Hugh, and we're just coming up into Gambier Bay now. Coming around the corner into Gambier Bay, this is Snug Harbor ahead of us. It's a popular anchorage for boats traveling back and forth through the Northwest Passageway as they go through into Alaska. and that's a real nice anchorage spot for them, real pretty spot. There's actually a Forest Service cabin right here just ahead of us on the float, right on this little spot right there. You can rent that Forest Service cabin and stay there. Quite a few people do that. I'll slow down here again back to normal speed and do a stream survey when we get up here a little bit. The tide is out, so the fish kind of ribbon up, school up here along the edge of the tide flats, and they're pretty easy to see. When the tide comes in, they spread out over those tide flats all over the place and get real thin and really hard to see. There's one boat there that's anchored up in the harbor. Oh, this system is one of the later ones in Gambier Bay, so there are a few fish coming into it already, but there won't be near as many as what usually come into this system yet. You can see where the grass flats end up there in the trees. That's the intertidal area, and the fish kind of come up through these channels and go up there to the top of the intertidal, and they get away from the seals, and the predators are in the salt water. And then of course they're exposed to the bears, and Admiralty Island is famous for its Alaska brown bears. Like the Kodiak bears, they're the same species, and they get pretty big here because they get lots of fish to eat. And we'll usually see, this early in the season, we'll see 2 or 3 bears down here on the flats. There's not many fish yet, but as we fly this system, sometimes we'll see 10 or 15 bears going up this stream, or a stream like this one. The spawning portion of this stream goes back up here about 1.5 miles or 2 miles, and it runs into a falls that's a barrier for the pink salmon and the jump salmon. Right now most of the fish are down either in the intertidal or just up above the intertidal in the fresh water. So, and again, it's early for this stream here. They're not really in here very hard yet. I'm going to head out of Snug Harbor here into Gambier Bay. We'll take a left up here around this corner and head up into Bowman, into the head of the bay. We're still looking for fish traveling along the shoreline here and in the bay, looking for jumpers and schools of fish. This is Bowman Creek, Bowman Bay, I guess. This stream goes back up in there about 4 or 5 miles before it peters out. It used to be the secondary stream in Gambier Bay, but it's kind of turned into the primary one. It gets the most fish of the bay, and it's got a pretty good bunch of fish in it right now. It's still on the early side on this flight, but it's got quite a few fish on it. And again, the same as all the rest of them, the fish come up these channels to the top of the intertidal area where those trees are, and then that's the freshwater part of the stream, and they get in there. But they were up this stream here about 3/4 of a mile or better already, and there were quite a few fish in here. Had a good look at Bowman now. Quite a few fish in there. Looked pretty good. We're going to head out here now, and just immediately to the left, as we get past this point, is Johnson Creek. Johnson Creek used to be the #1 system in this Gambier Bay system, in this lower Admiralty system, but it's kind of fell down over the last few years, and it's pretty disappointing at how few fish actually go up there. Now, we flew it this day. There wasn't hardly anything at all in it. It looked like there might be some coming in, it might be starting, but it was pretty disappointing for how many was there for the time of the year. There should have been a lot more. And then later we flew it again, and it didn't change very much. But we flew it day before yesterday, and there was quite a few fish went in there. Still nothing like what it should be. This system goes in here about 6 miles, and it's viable spawning system all the way. And when we flew it day before yesterday, there were only fish up here about a mile past the intertidal, maybe, if that. And so it's a real disappointing. It's fell down pretty much. It hasn't recovered, and it's been 5 or 6 years that it's been like that. Johnson Creek is done. Pretty disappointing. We're going to head on out of Johnson Creek along the north side of Gambier Bay, and then we're going to go up North Arm. That's an arm on the outer edge of Gambier Bay, and there's 3 little streams up there. They don't look like they amount to much, but they actually get quite a few fish. We're turning up North Arm, also called Last Chance. See a little peninsula sticking out here on the right, and just the other side of that is Seymour Canal. That goes up there about 30 miles or so and then ends, and then there's a glass peninsula just on the right of that. This is the 3 little streams I was telling you about at the head of the bay. One's just disappearing underneath the corner, one there just in the middle of the screen, and then one straight ahead. They're not very big streams, but they get a pretty good return of fish. A real low ridge separates the upper end of the North Arm, or Last Chance, from Seymour Canal. That's Seymour Canal just over that little low ridge. Glass Peninsula, the southern end of it is right there in the distance. Point Hugh is the end of that. And of course that's Stevens Passage out there that runs up towards Juneau. And the Alaska mainland over there in the distance, in the far distance. Stop to take a little break here in the north arm. It's generally a good place to stop to take a break because it's usually pretty quiet in here, protected from the wind. So I'm going to take off here and head back across Gambier Bay, and we'll go across the mountains and drop over into Pybus Bay. First stop in Pybus Bay is Old Man Creek, and that's got a couple of streams in it that branches off, but mainly we're just going to look out in the tidal area and the intertidal area. Buzzed over Old Man's Creek pretty quick, so now we're going to head up to the north arm of Pybus Bay here, and that's a pretty good little stream that runs up there. There's actually a few bears in it. Not a whole lot of fish yet, but a few bears and deer. Now we're going to go across to the southwest side of Pybus Bay into Donkey Bay. Donkey Bay is one of the bigger systems, one of the biggest return systems in Pybus Bay. It gets chums and pinks, and this valley is fun to fly. It goes back up in here, a mile and a half or 2 miles, but it's pretty much a box canyon back up in there, and the mountains go up to 3,000 feet on either side of it, almost vertical. So you got to pay attention to watch the stream when we're going up there, and also keep an eye on the sides of the hills so you don't get too close to them. Anyway, we're not going that far this time. We're just going in again. We'll go a little ways up into the stream here because the fish are in the intertidal area here, and then they're running up into the freshwater a little ways. They haven't gone all the way up yet. There's also a Forest Service cabin on the outer side of the bay there in the trees, so if a person wanted to get a good view of the bears feeding and the fish running up the streams and stuff, that's a cabin that you could rent and spend a couple days in and I guess you'd have to watch and make sure you didn't trail any bear scent behind you to draw them in, but it'd be a fun place to stay for a couple of days to see bears and fish. We're done with Donkey Bay, so we're going to head out of here. Just around the corner, just a little ways, is to Cannery Cove. Cannery Cove, of course, is named after a cannery that was there. It's also a real popular anchorage for pleasure boats that are transiting the area. The one ahead of us right now is a 357-foot boat named the Bravo Eugenia. I think that's the right name. It's owned by Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. He was here for a few days passing through southeast Alaska and anchored up there in Cannery Cove. Cannery Cove is another one. It's even tighter than Donkey Bay. The valley up in here is narrower. The stream only goes back up in here maybe 3/4 of a mile or so. It's not near as long. Doesn't get quite the fish that Donkey Bay does, but the mountains are pretty spectacular going back in here. They're just about vertical. There's some beautiful waterfalls, and again, it's one you got to really watch. You can see today there's a little bit of clouds in here, but it's really a pretty good day for this valley to go up in there. But it's just a gorgeous flight up in there, but it's one you got to be really careful in. You could run into a mountain pretty easy, run out of air pretty easy in there. And it gets a lot of turbulence in there, so there's some days you don't want to get anywhere close to it. Cannery Cove got its name, of course, because there was a cannery on here at one point in time. One of the few places in Alaska, southeast Alaska, that there's private land out here in the forest, as they patented the land for the cannery, and now it's been sold to private individuals. There are some private residents on this point here just on the right. There's also a lodge, a sport fishing lodge there named Pybus Point Lodge. Again, it's one of the few places in southeast Alaska that has private land. You'll be able to see a little bit of the houses there as we go over, but mainly I'm going to be going right over that shoreline, right over the shoreline, so we can look out to the left and look for fish moving along that shoreline. And this is going to just about conclude our flight for the day. We run out of camera here pretty quick. I think we did go around and do a little survey in Little Pybus, which is just around the corner here, but this is going to be pretty much the end of this video.